Discover how a heartwarming decision by a wealthy widower transformed his daughter's life forever. Michael stared blankly at the towering shelves of architectural awards lining his office walls, their gold and silver gleaming mockingly against the heavy ache in his chest. 2 years had passed since Sarah had left him, and the silence of their sprawling home felt like a suffocating embrace. Each accolade was a reminder of success, but it all felt hollow now, like a gilded cage. The whispers of his achievements echoed in his mind, yet the world outside his window seemed grim and chaotic. The award for Best Architecture of the Year was just a testament to a life built on personal triumph, while his home was built on collective love, a love distilled into memory. He heard the soft crunch of footsteps on the gravel outside, a sure sign of Emily returning from classes. His daughter had become a ghost in his house, her passion for environmental science struggling to gain traction under the weight of his affluence. He drifted toward the window, seeing her figure disappear into the front door. Would she ever feel seen? Later, as he worked late into the night, Michael stumbled upon one of Emily's research proposals. The paper lay on the counter, a model for urban cleanliness. As he read, he was struck not by the brilliance of her concept but by the depth of her heart. Her words bleated with urgency, frustration, and hope, a stark contrast to the polished veneer of his lifestyle. A tumult of emotions raged within him. He knew he had the means to support her project financially, to provide her a launchpad. But then, wouldn't he be trapping her further into his world of privilege? Should she navigate the world unassisted, endure failure if it came, and prove herself against adversity? What would that mean for their relationship? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of his decision pressed heavily on him. Choosing to stay silent as her partner felt noble, yet it felt like a betrayal wrapped in well-intended ambitions. He envisioned her at presentation meetings, alone, her confidence wedged between his shadow and her struggle. The mental tug-of-war strangled him. Could investing in her success become a gift, or would it only deepen their divide? Days turned to weeks, and Michael witnessed Emily's passion ignite the town as she worked tirelessly. But the long shadows of corporate giants loomed menacingly. He felt each unease-filled moment, every word of doubt whispered to him like a ghost haunting their home. With each breakthrough came a setback, and almost effortlessly, Emily bore the brunt of their anxiety. As accusations started to surface, Michael's heart fractured. He gripped the edge of his desk in horror. They painted her as a naive dreamer, someone incapable of standing in her own light. How had it come to this? Her struggle mirrored the storm inside him, a furious conflict of nurturing and releasing. How could he reconcile these feelings? Watching her wrestle with fears, she shifted beneath the load of expectations. Searing anguish coursed through him. Once, he had been her champion in life. She needed to stand alone now, unshackled from his shadow, yet he was terrified of what that meant. Would Emily rise above corporate oppression, or would she break under the weight of ambition? As they both stood at this crumbling precipice of scrutiny, the question loomed, heavy like the clouds gathering on a stormy horizon: could love survive the cracks forming beneath their relationship? Michael spent sleepless nights dwelling on Emily's ongoing struggle. The sight of her pale face, strained from battling each setback, etched deeper into his memory. He curled into himself, oscillating between pride in her tenacity and guilt for feeling powerless. The bitterness of inaction gnawed at him like an uninvited parasite. He was supposed to be her protector, yet she fought alone, the weight of the world pressuring her small shoulders. Every morning, after her classes, Emily would retreat to her room, poring over research and proposals. He adored her determination, but increasingly it felt as though he were observing a firefly caught in a web, beautiful yet ensnared, glowing only through sheer force of will. With deadlines looming, she had arrived home today with a deeper crease in her brow than usual. It struck him how determination was on one side, and despair lingered on the other. One evening, while she buried herself beneath piles of outdated studies and the cacophony of distant engines roar outside their home, Michael felt the urge to break the painful silence. He gently tapped on her door, feeling the weight of his own inadequacies. "Can I come in?" Silence echoed. "Emily?" A faint voice finally replied, "Yeah, Dad, come in." As the door creaked open, he met her gazing at a digital screen awash with data and graphs. The air was thick with apprehension. He approached her desk, feeling the distance between them like a chasm carved by unspoken truths. "I was thinking about your project," he ventured hesitantly. Emily's eyes darted from her screen to his, brimming with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "Are you? What about it?" He forced himself to voice his inner turmoil. "It's ambitious. You could use resources. Connections, maybe I could help." The moment her disappointment settled in the air, it felt like a thunderous crash against his heart. "I don't want your help, Dad. I want to earn this myself. I want to prove that I can do it on my own." Her voice trembled, edged with vulnerability but resolute. Michael stiffened. Was support synonymous with a safety net that could potentially smother her growth and sense of independence? He had always believed that giving Emily the freedom to fail was a greater gift than any material resource. Yet, the shadows of doubt loomed larger. As the days folded into each other, Michael's internal debate spiraled into deeper contemplation. He began attending Emily's meetings, positioning himself at the back of the room, a silent observer, yet aching to offer guidance while stifling the urge. The more he listened, the more he realized how unaligned the corporate world was with Emily's vision. They sought quick returns, while she dreamt of lasting change. The juxtaposition intensified his urge to intervene. The conflict within him ballooned. Here lay the real crux of it all. Was it selfish desire for control or genuine fear for her well-being that prompted him to press for a role? One day, as Emily detailed plans to a committee that hardly acknowledged her, a seed of determination sprouted in Michael's mind. Standing at the edge of that room, he made a decision. He would no longer be a passive spectator in her journey. It was time to forge a different path, a way to show his love that wouldn't shackle her ambition. But that was merely the beginning. Sitting at his desk, brainstorming ways to open doors for her while still nurturing her independence, he felt a surge of adrenaline. What if he leveraged his connections in a manner that aligned with her values? Just as clarity began to settle in, a cruel new development on the horizon threatened to unravel everything. A powerful corporation had set its sights on Emily's project. The looming threat had transformed her struggle into a potential war. Michael's heart raced as he thought of the confrontation ahead. As he prepared for the battle looming at their doorstep, he felt a flicker of hope. Acceptance of change felt terrifying, but it was necessary, a pivotal moment in their evolving relationship. With a new role waiting to unfold, he braced himself for the challenge to come. Would Emily accept his help, or was he about to overstep the bounds of her independence? The days leading up to the meeting with the corporation felt like suspended time for Michael. The air was thick with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. He had mapped out every possible scenario in his mind, from Emily vehemently rejecting his involvement to her potentially welcoming his support. Each scenario unsettled him, forcing him to confront an unnerving truth. Whether or not she wanted it, he had to make a choice now about how he would approach this conflict. One evening, after another long day filled with hushed conversations and furtive glances shared among corporate executives, he found himself standing at the refrigerator door, a mundane act that felt charged with tension. As he poured himself a glass of water, he recalled the fire that sparked within him just days earlier, the resolve to find a way to help Emily without overshadowing her independence. But deeper within him, another voice echoed, the fear of inadequacy, the guilt of having once failed her mother, and the dread of being unable to protect her from the harsh realities of the adult world. The specter of those feelings loomed large. Despite his internal turmoil, he began to craft a plan. He would meet with key individuals in the corporation before the official confrontation. This proactive step wasn't about undermining Emily's agency, it was about gathering intelligence. He needed to understand their motivations, their ulterior objectives, and how that conflicted with Emily's mission of lasting change. He considered every angle, warnings from Emily's project proposals echoing back in his mind. On the day of the first unofficial meeting, he dressed with purpose, slipping on the crisp, navy suit he had reserved for important occasions. The fabric felt alien. He had grown accustomed to his casual attire at home, stepping into the realm of corporate America where the stakes were as high as the skyscrapers themselves. Stepping into the corporate office, he was swamped by an ambience that seemed to meld all the buzz of ambition into a single, palpable entity. A few minutes later, a slick-haired man approached him, extending a hand briskly. It was Darren, the chief strategic officer known for his cutthroat approach to business. Michael could sense immediately the air of superiority surrounding him. Darren's inability to see the human story behind the projects was as palpable as the colognes wafting around the crowd. As they exchanged pleasantries, Michael felt an unexpected rush. For years, he had assumed a supportive role, but now, facing a direct antagonist, a surge of adrenaline flooded him. He wasn't just here for Emily, he was uncovering layers he had long allowed to remain dormant. He began to articulate Emily's vision, the profound changes her project intended to invoke, and why those changes mattered. His passion surprised even him. With every word, he pushed back against the corporate backdrop, crafting a narrative centered not only on profit but on genuine impact. He discovered that he was a capable advocate, channeling his fears into articulate arguments, revealing his growing determination to protect Emily's vision while standing firm against corporate indifference. As the meeting concluded and he stepped out into the brisk air, a sense of awakening surged through him. He wasn't merely her father, he was a voice of integrity, potential, and collaboration. But doubts remained. Would Emily embrace this new dynamic? The thought gnawed at him. With each revelation about his own capacity to influence the unfolding situation, he realized he had shifted in his approach toward Emily. However, the enormity of the upcoming confrontation weighed heavily on him. Would Emily see him as an ally or an intruder in her independence? The night before the significant meeting, anxiety settled in his chest, making sleep elusive. Every strategy he'd crafted felt like it hung by a thread. This would become a definitive moment for him and Emily, one that could either forge a new partnership or irrevocably fracture their bond. As the dawn approached, Michael sought clarity. Should he reveal his involvement in the meetings, risking her wrath, or should he keep that newfound influence a secret for just a while longer? The moment of truth loomed, palpably close. But what he didn't know was that Emily had been considering her own battle plan, one that might drastically alter their journey ahead. Morning broke amid the chaos of Michael's thoughts. He found himself staring at the ceiling, a flurry of possibilities racing through his mind. He could reach for the truth, divulging everything he had learned in last night's meetings, or he could obscure his newfound insights, risking a more devastating fallout if he were to be discovered later. The tension in his chest tightened, each beat echoing the duality of his intentions, protection versus independence. As the clock ticked down, he paced the familiar confines of his living room, its walls lined with reminders of the life he'd built around Emily. Each photograph captured a moment of joy, anchoring him with the weight of his promises that now felt precarious. He was her guardian, yet he also harbored ambitions for her well-being that danced uncomfortably close to control. With each rhythmic pound of his footsteps on the hardwood floor, the resolve grew steady. He recalled Emily's articulate defenses against corporate greed, her idealism crashing with the cold reality he had only begun to grasp. She needed to be equipped to confront not only the corporation but also him. The hour approached for their meeting, and as he donned his navy suit once more, a surge of confidence washed over him. He could help her navigate the treacherous waters ahead. He just needed the courage to share everything he had uncovered and trust that, together, they could create a path that honored both her vision and his lessons. At the corporate office, the atmosphere felt electric, underlined by an urgency that left little room for personal emotions. Darren's haughty demeanor was unchanged, radiating arrogance as the elevator doors opened. Michael steeled himself, recalling the heartbeat he'd felt during their last encounter. Instead of crumbling under pressure, he channeled it. If Emily were to see him as a partner, he had to embrace the role fully. As the meeting commenced, Michael watched Emily's composure. She was armed with her prepared proposals, the fire in her eyes undiminished. He remembered moments of her hesitance in the past, and now a quiet pride settled over him. The true test loomed, the point where he would have to decide, would he interject and risk her ire, or allow her voice to lead this charge entirely? As plans unfurled around the boardroom, Michael remained an attentive observer. He noted every flinch from Darren and every flicker of uncertainty in other executives when Emily spoke. This was her moment, but adrenaline coursed through Michael, compelling him to raise his hand, to interject all he had learned, insights about the firm's motives and the potential consequences of Emily's vision being overlooked. "Excuse me," he began, his voice steady yet resolute. Eyes pivoted toward him, uncertainty palpable. He could feel nerves dancing along the edges of his resolve, but he pressed on. "I've taken the liberty to discuss some of these ideas with the leadership team," and abruptly, he halted, realizing the weight of his actions. Would Emily view this as a betrayal or as a necessary strategy? He quickly glanced at her, searching for her reaction amidst the rising tension filling the room. Her expression was inscrutable, and the moment stretched on into an eternity filled with both opportunity and peril. Would this bold leap into the fray prove to be the ally she needed, or would it signal the very fracture he feared? His heart raced as the moment hung in the air, each participant holding their breath, waiting for Emily's response as he stood on the precipice of their future, a secret about to be unveiled that could either bind them closer or shred their fragile relationship apart forever. The silence in the boardroom was suffocating, a collective intake of breath as all eyes shifted to Emily. Michael's stomach churned with uncertainty as he assessed her response. Would she rally in her fierce independence, or would she see his interjection as a threat, a breach of trust at the very moment they had both sought to fortify their partnership? Emily's lips tightened for the briefest of moments, and Michael thought he could see a flicker of hurt pass through her eyes. This was her arena, her battle, and he had just barged in, weaponizing their shared knowledge without warning. Yet, to retreat now would not only showcase his weakness but could potentially undermine the goal they had worked towards. "Thank you, Michael," she said finally, a controlled calm settling over her voice. The slight quiver in her tone hinted at a rush of conflicting emotions. "But as we discussed, I believe my proposal stands strong on its own merit." Relief washed over Michael briefly, but it was followed by the realization that this moment could not go unexamined. She was inviting him to be a collaborator, unervingly close to an adversary. The room buzzed with the anticipation of her response, and again he felt the weight of their history press down on him. "Of course, Emily," he replied, reading the room with a precision he did not know he possessed. "But I think it's crucial to consider the perspectives and motives of the leadership team here. They may see aspects that could shift the dialogue in ways we didn't anticipate." The executives watched, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Michael was surprised at his own boldness, the clarity of his thoughts flowing more freely than they had before. Perhaps there was something fundamentally shifting within him, a realignment of who he wanted to be. "Maybe," Darren interjected, a derisive chuckle escaping him. "Or perhaps this is just another instance of playing it safe, Michael. There's no room for caution in innovation. We need to take risks if we want to make a mark." He leaned back in his chair, a self-satisfied expression plastered on his face. "Well, Darren," Emily responded, her eyes sparking with determination. "That's where you're mistaken. Every innovation doesn't begin with reckless abandon. It requires thorough understanding, careful strategy," and she paused, glancing at Michael, "teamwork. We're not here just to impress, we're here to create sustainable change." Something ignited in Michael. He could see the strength of her voice piercing through the corporate bravado, could almost touch the moment she reaffirmed her commitment to both her ideals and him. The air crackled. This was her moment now. Precisely, he added, choosing his moments carefully. Each of us brings a unique vantage point, and we can leverage that collective insight to challenge the company's limits. Emily is right. The warmth of their mutual recognition interlinked them like a thread, and for the first time that day, Emily smiled a real smile. In that instant, he felt a shift in their dynamic, almost as if they were two dancers gaining their rhythm, both learning to lead and follow in this unfolding space together. Yet, as the meeting continued, Michael remained acutely aware of the lurking challenges ahead. His earlier insights about the corporation's hidden motives loomed in the back of his mind. The conversation may have taken a productive turn, but he knew there were factors at play that could unravel everything they were trying to achieve. As he left the boardroom alongside Emily, exhilaration mingled with an undercurrent of trepidation. Had he crossed a line? Was this partnership, this blossoming synergy, actually sustainable? More importantly, would the truth he had withheld come back to haunt them when he least expected it? His thoughts spiraled as they walked toward the elevator, a small yet significant distance that felt fraught with unspoken tensions. They needed to address the unarticulated affiliations between ambition and familial loyalty. The sudden realization struck Michael that their next steps would define not just their professional aspirations but also the essence of their relationship. Would they be able to navigate these turbulent waters ahead, or had he initiated a sequence that could cause everything to collapse? The lingering question broke through the clamor of the boardroom's echoes, pulling his mind toward the precipice of a decision that loomed just beneath the surface, one he could no longer avoid. As the elevator doors slid shut, the muted hum of machinery replaced the boardroom's tense energy. Michael shifted, attempting to ease the tightness that had settled in his chest. He could feel Emily's presence beside him, her poise contrasting with the tumult of emotions swirling within him. This was no longer just about the proposal, it was about trust, ambition, and the uncharted territory of their partnership. "Can we talk?" she asked, breaking the silence, her gaze fixed on the flickering numbers above the doors. There was a steadiness in her voice that suggested purpose. "Absolutely," he replied, his mind racing. They couldn't ignore the complexities they just stepped into. It was imperative that they address the potential cracks forming in their foundation. When the doors opened, they stepped out into the quiet corridor, devoid of distractions. Michael gestured toward a nearby conference room, and Emily nodded, her expression resolute. Inside, the walls felt confining, echoing the weight of their conversation yet to come. "I appreciate what you did back there," she started, her tone softer now. "But I still felt blindsided. We can't afford to undermine each other in front of the team, Michael." "I know." The admission cost him something, a pang of vulnerability that he was learning to accept. "But I thought it was necessary. I wanted to assure them that there's more to your proposal than just bold ideas." Emily crossed her arms, a defensive posture. "And what makes you think I don't already know that? We've discussed those angles for weeks. I needed to project confidence, not have you throw me a lifeline." He could sense her frustration mingled with disappointment. It was painful to realize that he had misjudged the moment. He allowed his instinct to protect her aspirations to overshadow her agency. "I'm still figuring out where I fit into this. That meeting." His voice faltered. "It surprised me, Emily. I didn't expect to feel part of the conversation in the way I did." "What do you mean?" "I mean," he hesitated, choosing his words with care, "I felt empowered, like I finally had a voice that mattered. But part of that came from the fear of losing something I value, our partnership." The honesty hung in the air, raw and exposed. He watched as her demeanor shifted, the initial tension giving way to contemplation. "Michael," she said quietly, "we have to navigate this carefully. Your voice does matter, but so does mine. We're both here for the same reason. I want us to lift each other up, not feel like we're competing. I want that too, more than anything." He took a step closer, the air thickening with unspoken possibilities. "But I also know we're in a precarious place. The stakes are high not just for the company, but for us." Emily's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. "What do you mean by us? It feels like we're at a point where everything we've built could lose its meaning if we aren't careful. We need to decide how to proceed without damaging the trust that's brought us this far." Her eyes searched his face. Anxiety seeped into his marrow. Would she understand the complexity of his feelings? Could she also see the opportunity for growth in this moment? "Next week," she finally said, her tone more determined, "let us do a joint presentation. Let us show the board what we can truly create together." The strength of her assertion surprised him. Part relief, part exhilaration, swelled within him. This was a chance for both redemption and partnership. But that too came with its own risks. "Okay," he agreed. "We'll co-create this, fully collaborate." Emily nodded, meeting his gaze with newfound determination. Yet beneath that resolve, he sensed an underlying fear mirrored in her eyes. They both stood on the precipice of something transformative, but together they faced a mounting tension that lingered in the shadows of unspoken realities. Had they truly secured a path forward, or were they merely delaying the inevitable confrontation with deeper truths that threatened their ambition? As they left the conference room, an unsettling notion began to form in Michael's mind. Was their newfound collaboration strong enough to withstand the pressures outside, or would it unravel under scrutiny, the scrutiny that had already begun to take shape in the boardroom? As the days unfolded leading up to the joint presentation, Michael found himself ensnared in a paradox of excitement and trepidation. Each time he reviewed their proposal, a sharp awareness of the stakes loomed larger. They were not merely crafting a pitch, they were redefining their partnership amidst a competitive landscape filled with high expectations. The late-night brainstorming sessions became a mixture of synergy and friction. At times, he marveled at Emily's insights, which flowed like a cascade of brilliant ideas, yet the undercurrents of unspoken tension hovered just beneath the surface. Though he was eager to contribute, he often caught himself hesitating. What if he didn't measure up to her vision? The fear gnawed at him. Michael tapped his fingers rhythmically against the table, the rhythm betraying his impatience. What about focusing on the user experience? We need something that resonates on a personal level, something relatable, he suggested, trying to steer the conversation towards something he felt confident addressing. Emily paused, pen hovering over her notes. "True, but we also can't lose sight of the innovative aspects. We have to shock the board a little, right?" She was right. But Michael had grown wary of shocking anyone, preferring to earn respect through substantive contributions instead. He rubbed the back of his neck, a familiar gesture of uncertainty. "I just worry that without the emotional hook, our chance to create an impact will slip away." A silence enveloped the room, almost palpable. It was as if Emily was weighing the merits of his concern against her instincts. He sensed she was mentally recalibrating their approach, a positive sign. Yet the vulnerability simmered within him, a stark reminder that their success was contingent not only on this presentation but on their evolving dynamic. "Let us blend both then," she proposed, her eyes brightening. "Create a narrative that connects with the audience on a personal level while showcasing our innovative strategies. We have to reference where we came from and where we need to go." A rush of warm relief flowed through him. In that moment, he realized something essential. First and foremost, this wasn't just about the board meeting, it was about forging their identity as a team. Every word they crafted would signal their growing partnership and demonstrate their combined strengths. The idea ignited a flicker of excitement, almost a sense of liberation. As they delved deeper into the project, Michael found himself more at ease with offering ideas, even those that felt risky. They bounced concepts back and forth, letting creativity thrive within a framework of mutual respect. Yet, as the deadline loomed closer, old habits tugged at him, tempting him to retreat into the shadows rather than stand tall in collaboration. He needed a breakthrough both personally and professionally. The night before their rehearsal presentation, he found himself alone in the office, poring over their final slides, wrestling with insecurities that refused to be silenced. It was then he stumbled upon a hidden talent. As he read through Emily's notes, a spark ignited a recollection of a storytelling technique he had learned years ago in a writing seminar. It dawned on him, they could infuse the presentation not only with innovation and emotional connection but also draw upon narrative arcs that would engage the board. They would not just present, they would narrate a journey, one that portrayed both their struggles and victories in this endeavor. Energized by the revelation, he scribbled down the framework, a renewed sense of purpose flooding his veins. The morning arrived, and with it, the culmination of their efforts. Standing in front of the sleek conference room table, Michael felt the weight of expectation. Everyone's gaze was upon them. Emily began to speak, confidence radiating from every word as she set the stage with her opening lines, but as she finished, Michael took a deep breath, his shaky resolve threatening to falter. Would their shared aspirations transcend the anxieties that hung in the air? The moment had arrived for him to step into the light and fully embrace his role in this partnership. As he launched into the story, weaving personal connections with strategic insights, he realized he wasn't just delivering a presentation, he was stepping into the identity he longed to claim. But would the board embrace their shared vision, or would the cracks in their foundation show in the scrutiny of their performance? The answers loomed, and both professional success and personal growth dangled precariously on the edge of that crucial moment. As he finished the presentation, a fragile silence enveloped the room. Michael caught Emily's glance, a mix of pride and anticipation that momentarily steadied his racing heart. The board members leaned back in their chairs, their expressions inscrutable. His mind raced through possibilities. What if they weren't engaged? What if their connection was lost amid the data and the emotions he had labored to blend? He inhaled sharply, steeling himself for the questions that followed. One by one, the members spoke, leaning forward with intrigue as they dissected each layer of their narrative. Their feedback, a mixture of praise and constructive critique, flowed like music to his ears. For the first time, Michael recognized that he was no longer the hesitant contributor hidden in the shadows. He was an advocate, a driving force for their idea. The gap between fear and confidence began to close. Post-presentation, as he and Emily retreated to the office, a wave of adrenaline surged within him. Did you see how they reacted to the personal stories? He asked, the energy bubbling up. I think we really connected with them. Emily smiled, but a hint of seriousness shadowed her features. Yes, but let us not lose sight of the flaws they pointed out. We have work to do. Her pragmatism grounded him, but also jolted him back to the reality that their partnership was still evolving. Right, he replied, the enthusiasm goading him into practicality. We should dissect their feedback, innovate on those points. Maybe even rehearse our next approach. As the ensuing days unfolded, Michael became increasingly attuned to the dynamics of their collaboration. Each meeting with Emily felt less like a competition or a measure of worth and more like an alliance. They crafted their ideas back and forth, a tapestry of innovation and genuine connection flowing through their discussions. Yet, despite the progress, Michael sensed an underlying tension brewing. He picked up on subtle shifts in Emily's demeanor. Moments of gravity lingered between her words. Her easy laughter during brainstorming sessions had grown sparse, replaced by an intensity that clenched his stomach with a new anxiety. The professional development they had cherished now hovered over a precipice, and he began to question whether he was prepared for the weight of her expectations. The final presentation was approaching, and Michael felt the urgency to cement their partnership. Late one evening, he set aside his self-doubts and organized a casual dinner at a local restaurant he adored, hoping to infuse some levity into their workspace. This wasn't just about strategy, it was a chance to deepen the foundation of trust they had laid. He wanted to know her beyond the confines of their work, beyond the project. Emily arrived, her initial reticence melting as they delved into conversation. With each laugh, he noticed a light returning to her eyes. They shared stories from their past, unveiling layers of aspirations and disappointments. A sense of camaraderie blossomed between them, a space for vulnerability that made the looming deadline feel palpable yet conquerable. As they wrapped up their evening, he felt a stir of hope igniting within him, a realization that his growth was inseparable from Emily's. They were no longer just colleagues. Through their shared struggles, they were becoming catalysts for each other's potential. Yet, despite the warmth of camaraderie, Michael could not shake a lingering concern. What if the looming presentation exposed not just their ideas but unrecognized fissures in their partnership? The next day, an email jolted him from his thoughts, a request for their final feedback session from the board. The momentum was building, but so was the weight of uncertainty. Michael stared at the words, anxiety gripping his chest. Would the culmination of their efforts pay off, or would it shatter their fragile trust? The moment was approaching where clarity would either barge through their doubts or unveil those cracks he feared. Would this be the opportunity to solidify their partnership, or would it expose their vulnerabilities? The weight of the answer pressed fiercely against the edges of his mind. Michael stared at the glowing screen, the request from the board hanging before him like a storm cloud waiting to unleash rain. He felt his pulse quickening as he absorbed the implications. This was the moment they had prepared for, yet all that pent-up excitement morphed into an incubator for doubt. He shook his head, pushing aside the gnawing anxiety. This feedback session wasn't merely a review, it was an opportunity to affirm their development and resolve. He glanced at the clock ticking ominously toward midnight. An idea struck him. A crumpled piece of paper emerged from his cluttered desk as he unfolded it. Pages of notes filled with their brainstormed concepts spilled across his desk. If they were going to present their best selves, they needed not just to listen to the board's feedback but to showcase their growth. He grabbed his phone and texted Emily. "Let us meet early. We need to refine our approach." As dawn broke, he prepared breakfast mindlessly, his thoughts racing. Each sip of coffee fueled his resolve. He mused about how their friendship had evolved into something deeper, something more nuanced than he anticipated. The quiet moments they shared over brainstorming sessions now felt pivotal. He knew he owed it to Emily not only to validate their hard work but also to fortify what their collaboration meant to both of them. When Emily arrived, a slight tiredness darkened her features. "I'm sorry for the early call," he said, forcing a lightness into his words. "But I think it's crucial we go through the board's notes together." Her eyes flickered with that familiar intensity, but a spark ignited within him as she nodded, visibly shifting her approach. "You're right. We need to build on what they've given us. Let us start addressing those concerns head-on," she affirmed, and just like that, they launched into spirited discussion, dissecting every piece of feedback. Hours passed, but the atmosphere shifted. The tension dissolved into a rhythm, punctuated by laughter and moments of reflection. Michael realized that for the first time, he felt entirely comfortable sharing his ideas, exposing vulnerabilities and taking ownership of both successes and failures. Each round of brainstorming felt sharper, as he crafted narratives that could not only deliver impact but convey the essence of who they were as a team. Yet beneath the surface, a deeper revelation began to surface. With every layer they peeled back, Michael unearthed hidden strengths within himself: his ability to weave personal anecdotes into professional strategy, how to adapt on the fly with confidence. This was new terrain, and it excited him. As their feedback session neared, a thought crept in. Emily had taught him more than just how to handle critiques, she had presented him with a mirror showing untapped potential. But how prepared was he to step up and meet the true expectations of their partnership? When the moment finally came, as they stepped into the boardroom, the air hung heavy with anticipation. Michael's heart raced, but now, he embraced the unease as a familiar companion rather than a foe. He and Emily exchanged a quick, reassuring glance before launching into their presentation. Halfway through, however, as they navigated questions and elaborated on new ideas, a board member raised a pointed critique, casting a shadow over their enthusiasm. The challenge posed seemed daunting, and Michael quickly found himself grappling not only with the feedback but with the fear of reverting back to his old self, doubtful and uncertain. But he remembered the warmth and trust they cultivated, and with that resolve, he took a deep breath. The moment had come to face not just the board but also the parts of himself he had buried. With a steady voice and clear conviction, he leaned into the discomfort, ready to confront the questions head-on. He could feel Emily's supportive presence beside him, bolstering his confidence as they navigated this critical test together. Would they rise to the occasion, or would the board's scrutiny fracture the progress they had made? In facing this pivotal moment together, would Michael finally uncover the true strength of their partnership? As the board meeting spiraled into a tense dialogue, Michael felt the weight of expectation intensify. This was not merely about saving their project, it was the defining moment for his relationship with Emily. Standing shoulder to shoulder with her, he acknowledged how far they had both come in their individual journeys from uncertainty to a budding partnership fortified by collaboration. With each challenge posed by the board, Michael and Emily answered with a united front, showcasing their synthesis of personal stories and innovative solutions. They leveraged every ounce of their research, weaving in data and heartfelt narratives that resonated throughout the room. As Emily spoke, Michael saw her confidence radiate, and it sparked a renewed drive within him. He felt no longer like a background figure but as an equal her partner, not just in project execution, but in every sense of the word. Then, during a crucial moment, one of the board members posed a question that cut to the core of their proposal's ethos. The weight of scrutiny loomed, but instead of faltering, Michael instinctively reached for the threads of their transformed dynamic. Responding to the inquiry, he drew from the depths of his understanding, conveying how their project was not merely a venture but a commitment to profound societal change. Demonstrating a newfound clarity, he expressed his belief that the merger of innovation with compassion was essential for a tangible impact. His words reverberated with authenticity and conviction. Emily's gaze met his, a flash of surprise mingled with pride igniting an electric connection between them. Something inside Michael clicked. This wasn't just about the project, it was a reflection of their growth together, an illustration of how their strengths complemented one another and how they had both transcended previous limitations. As the meeting reached its climax, Michael laid a plan that encapsulated both their visions. This was no longer just Emily's ambition nor Michael's legacy, it was their shared future bridging the gap between corporate aspirations and heartfelt integrity. The tense silence that followed their presentation began to dissipate. The board members exchanged looks of intrigue, some nodding in agreement. The goal they had fought to realize, the shared respect for both passion and profession, was becoming palpable. Finally, a board member leaned forward, a thoughtful expression settling on her face. "You've both made a compelling case. Your ability to articulate the merger of ethics and innovation stands out. I think we can agree this project deserves a deeper review." A wave of relief washed over Michael and Emily, but it was more than relief, it felt like validation. They had converted their struggles into a powerful narrative that promised potential. As they left the boardroom, Michael and Emily exchanged a glance that spoke volumes. They didn't need words to acknowledge it, they had conquered a pivotal challenge, and their partnership had deepened. Later that evening, as they celebrated their success over dinner, Michael found himself reflecting on the journey. Each moment of doubt, every sleepless night, had transformed into stepping stones towards their individual growth. For the first time in a long while, he felt a solid confidence rooted in integrity and collaboration. "I never thought I would enjoy working with my dad as much as I have," Emily said, her smile brightening the dim restaurant. "Your voice really did matter today. I needed you there, not just as my father but as my partner." Michael's heart swelled with pride, effectively sealing the metamorphosis that preceded this moment. He felt recognized not just in his achievements as a businessman but as a parent. He had proven to himself that he could be a force for good in Emily's ambitions, supporting her autonomy while also openly asserting himself as an ally in their shared journey. In that moment of triumph, he realized he had achieved more than just a successful presentation, he had restored a profound connection with his daughter. Their relationship was now built on mutual respect and understanding, far more valuable than any trophy lining his office. As they clinked glasses to a future of collaboration fueled by their shared resolve, Michael seized the moment. He had conquered not just external challenges but also internal conflicts. The journey had transformed him from a hesitant protector into an empowered advocate. He had established a legacy rooted in collaboration, one that would forever intertwine his professional identity with a deep connection to his daughter's dreams. This was the standard he set for himself moving forward, to nurture others while allowing them to soar, Recognizing the strength in partnership rather than ownership, Michael left the restaurant with a sense of completeness, a newfound purpose driving him forward. They had ignited a change not only within their professional landscape but within their hearts. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it's so important. Comment your reactions and theories about this transformative journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, don't wait even one more second to share. You're part of this community, let us grow together.